Oh, hi everyone, this is my Vulcan S. You've been asking for a video on how to service the bike. Also provide any useful documentation in the links below. So let's get started. The first thing you'd want to do is to warm up your bike to operating temperature. What that basically means is just let it idle. You want your oil to be warm. I've already warmed up my bike, you can tell that's idling where it should be. If you're wondering what exhaust I have, it is the Delta-Vic. This is the oil I use. It's a Penrite 10 W40. You have to make sure that it's a motorcycle oil just because you have a wet clutch and you do not want it to be slipping with a standard car oil. I have a K&N oil filter. Now I use any, really K&N isn't really the brand I use, but because it's on sale I thought I'd pick it up. If you're in Australia you can get it super cheap, RP303. Now this is, I wouldn't say optional, I'd say preferred. You don't need to do it every service, but change the crusher washer on the sump bolt. So just over there. And then you're just going to need a basic ratchet with an extension with a 17mm socket. Funnel, measuring jar. I'm a bit nitpicky, I like to put the exact amount that's meant to be in the bike. Just a oil pan. Now to start, you don't actually need to lift up the bike. There'll be more enough space in order to fit underneath, but what you should do is open the filler cap. That way when you start to pour the oil out, it comes out quicker. Now some people leave it closed, and then once they take out the sump bolt, then they open it to let the oil come out. Me, I just can't be bothered going around and doing it. It makes less of a mess if you do leave it in there though. Now that sump bolt, I'm not sure if you can see it with the sun glare, but it's basically right here. Strap that open. Now once you got that loose, once you got it open, I think it might make it a little mess here. Slowly let the oil out. Just take out the sump bolt and let the oil drain. What this little gasket, which is really just a washer, what it's for is this is your sump bolt and this is the washer that goes on there. Now this is called a crush washer. What it essentially means is once you seal it, I don't know if you can tell, but there's an indentation along the washer's face, essentially just the bottom part of that bolt. Now there is a specific torque that you're meant to use, put it in the description as well. The reason why I said it was optional to change it is because my experience with cars or bikes or whatever crusher washer is you can use these twice, preferably not. If you don't have the washer on hand, you can use it twice. Now because mine is very indentated, I am opting to replace it. Now this washer will be exactly the same as the old one. The only difference is it's completely flat. This goes back on the bike. Now that the oil is draining, the next step is to remove the oil filter. Now your oil filter may look different. The reason being is depending on the brand that you use. I use either RP303, which is Racing Performance, which have this easy nut removal. The socket goes on it and you're able to twist it off a lot easier. K&N does this as well. Now when you take this off, it will be a bit tight, but when you put it back on, you put it snug. I have to emphasize on this, snug. You do not over tighten, because if you do, this metal is on this filter is actually fairly weak. So if you take this off and it's sucked on real tight, you will literally tear it in half before you're able to undo it. I've had very bad experiences with cars and bikes that people thought, oh, you know, I'll put this extra tight, or some genius put Loctite on it. I'm the one stuck with the aftermath. Just snug. So you put it on, once it goes in, can't go anymore, then maybe half or quarter turn, that's it. Okay, so now you would want to do is take out your oil filter. Now again, doesn't have to be this brand. All it needs to have is a 303 pitch. I only got the K&N because it was on sale. So this is the old oil filter. As you can tell, oil is brown but not really black, which is a good sign. It means it's doing its job and the oil is good quality. What you want to do next is simply pop off the plastic. Now this is a old trick that I've learnt from, I guess, mechanics in the field for a very long time, is this O-ring, in order to make sure that it goes on smoothly and seals correctly, you don't want any resistance while it's trying to seal. Easiest thing to do is just get the old oil filter and spin it. That way it'll pick up any oil that's left over. If there's not much, just put your finger in the old one and just run it across. Now some people use a new oil, I just use the old oil, doesn't really matter as long as there is some kind of lube on the gasket. Just put it back on the bike. So now that you got the oil drained, the new oil filter, simply just twist it on, righty tighty, lefty loosey. Now even though it has this nut, because the metal is so thin, I do not want to shear it while tightening. All you have to do, get it down to its tight and do a quarter turn, and that's it. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is get your washer and your nut, your new washer if you can. If you can't, it's not the end of the world, you can always order the next service. Make sure the service is nice and clean, if you get that tight and snug. Now there is a torque setting. I guess don't really follow it. I need the stuff that's very important, like cylinder head bolts, that type of thing. As for the sump bolt, it's very simple, just snug. Now all you got to do is wipe everything down. Well, now that everything is all wiped, just make sure everything is sealed correctly. Check the washer as well, which is all fine. And now we can go up to filling up the oil. This is the old oil. It's not black, it is kind of still golden, which is a good sign. There's no metal shards or any metallic flakes, which is good. Means that the engine's still in good condition. Okay, so next what you'd want to do is remove the cap. Get yourself one of these long ass funnels. It makes your life a lot easier. Put that right in. Now I've got a measuring jug. I'm a bit anal about this. You don't necessarily have to, you can go by eye. I know the Vulcan takes a 1.8 litre refill. Tilt the bike up straight, watch the oil run down. Now the oil, now it might seem that there is too much oil in there. You have to remember that the oil filter is empty. So start the bike, let it run for a bit so you can pump the oil into the oil filter and then recheck. So now that the bike has started for a bit, what you want to do is tilt the bike over again. The oil should be in between that dot and that dot, but oil level is exactly where it should be. I know it looks a bit darker than it was before, but any leftover oil in the engine, the oil filter will do its job and oil will be clean. Thanks for watching, enjoy, hopefully this is useful. I'll do a PDF write-up as well and share it on the forums. Ride safe, and remember, dress for the slide, not the ride.